Hi everyone, it's Fee from the factory. We've got a tutorial today on how to make a fabric face mask. So this design is nice and simple, it uses elastic at the edges which goes around your ears. You can make it with ties instead and just have longer pieces, longer strips that go around your head if you don't have any elastic, or if you prefer not to wear it around your ears. They're not medical grade face masks and there's no filter, but it's just 2 layers of fabric. So we've got whatever nice pattern or design on the fabric on the front, and then we've used a plain fabric with a tight weave on the back. Preferably both sides are 100% cotton, and then they're just useful for catching any sneezes or coughs. It helps you stop touching your face if you have to go out and about to do some shopping or any essential travel, if you still need to go into work, and they're just a bit of extra protection. So I'm going to show you in 10 easy steps how to make these masks, and hopefully you can make a few for yourself at home or for your friends and family, anyone that you think might need one. And yeah, hope you enjoy. So for this face mask design, you want 2 bits of fabric, thread and pins, some fabric scissors, some 6mm elastic. So I mean, you can use just sort of white or black stuff, or you can get hold of some funky colours these days. Then some cardboard or paper, which we're going to use to make our pattern, and a ruler or a tape measure, and either some paper scissors, or I've got a blade here. You'll also need a sewing machine and an iron. First step is to iron your fabrics. So step 2 is to make your pattern, which makes it a lot easier to measure out your fabric, especially if you're going to make several masks. So you can use small bits of packaging, small cardboard, and make a cardboard pattern like this, which is what I'll probably be using. And this measures, it's about 6 by 9 inches, or that's approximately 155 by 230 millimeters. And if you haven't got any cardboard, you can use some paper. So now we want our fabric that we've ironed nice and flat, and your pattern. So whether that's a paper pattern like we've just made, or you want to use a cardboard one because that'll last a bit longer, a bit more durable. So I'm going to use this one. Measure out probably on the back of a fabric. If your fabric like this has got a specific back, it's probably best to draw it on the back. If it's quite a dark fabric, you might want to use a bit of chalk if you've got some. And try and measure it out so that you're using the fabric as efficiently as possible. So move it up a little bit and use a pen to draw around. The pattern helps you to hold the fabric in place. If you need something that's tightly woven like this, and you haven't just kind of got some fabric lying around, you might want to try and cut up an old shirt or an old sheet. You don't really want anything particularly stretchy or thin. So there we've got our 2 pieces drawn out. Use our fabric scissors to cut these out. So next step, we're gonna pin the fabric together, but we need our elastic pinned inside of it. So the elastic, if you get your ruler back over here, we're doing about 17 centimeters, I tend to do. So yeah, 17 centimetres, 170 millimetres, or approximately 7 inches. So you want 2 pieces, measure the same. Try not to pull it too tight when you're measuring, so that it doesn't sort of bounce back too shorter than you actually need. So there you go, you got 2 pieces of elastic. If you haven't got elastic, you could always use an old hairband or some sort of other like stretchy fabric maybe that you cut into strips. So what we're doing is we're gonna pin it to the 2 corners so that when you turn it back out, you just got a loop like this. So now we want to pin these 2 bits of fabric right side to right side. So say that's the fabric side that I want facing out when I'm wearing the mask, so that's going to go on the inside. So sort of have it folded out initially so that it's going to fold in like so, and then we're gonna I tend to do it sort of like this. So if you pop both bits of elastic so that they're matching up with the 2 top corners and place this on top, and we can get a pin. Be careful not to try and avoid stabbing yourself with the pin. So this wants to be up to the corner, and then we're going to pin through both bits of fabric and the elastic, sort of in a diagonal like that. We can do the other corner as well. So now they're attached at the 2 top sides, and we can open it back out and then move these down here. Try and keep it so that the elastic is sitting flat like this rather than twisted. And then pin the other 2 corners. There we go, so we've got 4 corners pinned to keep everything in place. If you want to put some other pins sort of in between the corners, if that helps you kind of keep stuff a bit flatter. So what we're going to do now is stitch around the edges. So you want a thread, preferably, I mean I've gone for one that's matching the back piece of fabric that I've got, so it's just some white thread, and it should look alright against the other pattern. If you've got a dark fabric, maybe go for a darker thread like a black or a brown. If you've only got one type of thread, that's fine. And then we're going to be stitching all around each of the 4 edges, but on one of these longer edges we want to leave a gap, so a gap that measures, I don't know, about 5 centimetres, something like that, enough for us to be able to then turn it inside out. So we'll go over to the sewing machine. So say we've got this long edge, we want to start about here to go down, so the kind of underneath your 5mm gap. We've got about a centimetre or 10mm seam allowance. So pop your foot down, needle in, and then just take it gently. There's no rush. When you get near the corner, take your pin out. You might want to just double check that your elastic is still sitting in there. And we're going to go forward and back twice over that corner before we turn. So forward, back, forward, back, and then stop about there with your needle in, or turn it to put it in, and then we can lift up the foot and turn that round. If, like me, it's gone over a bit too far, so you've got more of a seam allowance there, you might want to just turn it back quickly, so a bit further down, so that when you pivot, you've got about a centimetre seam allowance that direction too. Just take care sort of tuck your elastic slightly out of the way. You want it around here rather than interfering with where you're about to sew. And then carry on. Careful the elastic doesn't slide out. That's why you might want to go a bit slower than usual. So again, this is one of your shorter edges where the elastic curves round. So just tuck it out of the way a bit. This is one of the fiddlier bits. Pull this bit of fabric down so it sits nice and flat. On this edge, we're leaving the gap in the middle, but we want this line to be as straight as possible, even with the gap. So this is where it's kind of most crucial that you've still got a centimetre seam allowance. Go forward a bit, and go back a bit. That kind of gap. Then back a bit, forward a bit, stop. Take it out. Now I've just realised I didn't go forward and back the other side here. I just went forward, so you want to probably do that. I'm going to go over that a bit more just so that it doesn't come undone. Just to strengthen that seam. And now we can turn it inside out. Now sew around the edges. I'm gonna, before I turn it inside out, I'm gonna just cut off these little threads. So we've cut the threads off. Now before we turn it inside out, I'm just going to cut these corners, but be careful not to cut through where you've stitched. So we're going to cut it at a diagonal, just helps it sit a bit nicer when we turn it inside out, but not like this. Make sure you sort of cut just a little bit like that, and you might want to chop off that tiny bit of elastic. There we go. And then we can turn it inside out. So find your gap that you left before, and we're just going to push it all the way through. And then look, you can find your elastic and pull those sides out. Kind of pull at each corner just to check that it's fully out. And there you go. So that's sitting nice and flat. And we've got the gap here at the bottom. If you did ever find something to use as a filter, this flap will stay open because it's not going to be sewn shut. So if you did find something further down the line, you might be able to put that in there. Make sure the crease there, the edge is sitting nice and flat. Right, and then what we want is to do some pleats. Now, I'm going to turn this around so it's facing me with this gap facing me, and then you're going to pleat or fold towards you. So you might want to do a kind of test run because we're trying to fit 3 pleats in there. So sort of fingers in each side, fold towards you, and we're going to iron those to set them. So it should eventually look something like this. So we know we want it about there for the first pleat. So we're going to fold, kind of hold it down, give it a spray with the water in your iron, and that helps it set when we press it down. Fold it, hold with your fingers, spray and press. And then one more time. Fold, hold, spray spray and press. And it should look something like this. So obviously it's gone quite narrow, but when you sew it, it'll probably come apart a little bit, and then it folds out once you've sewn along these edges. Right, now we need to sew this edge and this edge. So we're sewing slightly closer to the edge than the 10cm seam allowance from before, so we're going in sort of to the edge of this foot really. Again, take it steady. This bit can be a bit tricky because it's quite a lot of fabric that you're getting through at one time. So just take it slowly, forward a little bit, back a little bit, and then all the way down. You might want to pull on this elastic slightly if you feel like it's not going through, just to give it a bit more momentum. And when you get to the end, go to the end, go back and go forward again. Lift your foot. It should look like this. And hopefully nice and neat on the back as well. And we'll do the other side. Now you can either do it like this, or you are going a slightly different direction, so your pleats might kind of pull in a different way, so you might want to actually, so from this, pull it across and line up with the left hand side of your presser foot. So yeah, line up with this edge this time, again going down, and needle in to start, go back, go forward a bit, then back, then carry on all the way down. Et voila, one finished mask. So hopefully you enjoyed today's tutorial. Let us know if you've got any questions or need any help with it, but hopefully it's all pretty straightforward with the 10 easy steps. And let us know if there's anything else you'd like some help on how to make, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you, and see you again next time. Bye.